Ladies and gentlemen, Jeremy Coombs.
Childhood was awesome. You got to be anything you could ever imagine you could be. But my favorite part of being a kid was games. Real quick, yell out, what are some of your favorite kind of games? What did you play that you really loved to play?
Strip poker.
Strip poker, all right. Pong.
Heads up, 7 up.
Heads up, 7 up.
Hide and go seek.
Hide and go seek, perfect. Hide and go seek was my favorite game. See, I was really, really good at hiding. I was a very skinny boy, and I could hide in the deepest, darkest crevasses and places that no one else could find me. And then on the flip side, I was really good at seeking people out with all of my energy. It was my goal to find each and every person, just to go as hard and as fast as I could to see them. Now, for those of you that know me, this might come as a surprise, but there was a time when I was very quiet, timid, and shy. See, in high school, I got a chance to hide. I got acne. I got acne, and I hid from myself because I didn't think that anyone wanted to see what was on the outside. So I became very polite, kind, overly nice, to the point just to get acceptance. And not only did I not know who I was, but my family didn't know who I was. In fact, they thought I was gay. They thought I was gay because I was quiet and hiding, until I came home with a girl, my first love. And my family got super duper excited, cheered, I got high fives, and that first love was so important to me. Think back, close your eyes real quick. Think about that love. How great did that feel? Yeah, you thought that that was the one. That was the person you were going to marry. Open your eyes. Well, turns out it didn't happen like that. She broke my heart. She crushed me. And as I sat in my room crushed, crying, I thought, how did this happen to me? How did my first love just break up with me? And I started to think about all the guys that had women. How did they keep them? Well, there was one common denominator they came up with. They were assholes. They were complete assholes. And so I decided I was going to seek out and become an asshole. It was time for me to stop being this polite guy and become a bad boy asshole. And guess what? It was perfect timing. I was 21 years old. I was at San Diego State University, and I got to join a fraternity. The perfect ground to prove that I was an asshole. So what did I do? I joined the fraternity, and I started to drink. I drank as much as I can, as often as I could, and then I started to fight. Because fighting is part of being an asshole, right? Well, there's also an important part of this, womanizing, because every bad boy was a womanizer. And I'm sure you can relate, because there's a time in your life perhaps that you wanted to be the jock or the skinny girl, or even maybe you're the pretty face that really just wants to be seen for being you. And so I sought out this bad boy as hard as I could. We had the craziest parties. It went from just one beer, immature, having fun, to a six-pack, still immature, to downright dangerous. Blackouts, sleeping with multiple women. One of the highlights of my asshole resume, standing in the middle of this photo shoot, I'm in Playboy magazine with a topless girl on my shoulders. Yeah, pretty classy, right? So as I started to drink and seek out more of this asshole, I started to lose friends. People didn't want to be around me anymore. They would say, Jeremy, you would get so drunk that there's this glaze that goes over your eyes, and you turn into a different person. We don't even know who you are. Mission accomplished. Asshole. And so things started to spiral out of control to the point where I didn't even know who I was. It got to a crazy night where we're driving home from a party. We're going up the freeway. I'm in the back seat. There's an old girlfriend driving, best friend, and me. and we're going up the freeway, and I kick the steering wheel of the car. We zoom across the freeway. Luckily, she's able to gain control of the car. We get out. One of my best friends, Reese, and I fight. And this is like a brother. Him and I duke it out. Somehow, I end up back home at my apartment in downtown San Diego. I go into the kitchen. I open my medicine cabinet. And I pull out a bottle of Tylenol PM. If you don't know what those are, they're little blue pills that help you sleep. I pour the whole bottle in my hand. Is this it? Is this where it ends? Do I hate myself so much that this is it? I end up ransacking my apartment, and the next day, my friend Reese comes in, and he tells me, Jeremy, do you even know what happened last night? And I'm sitting there thinking, no, but I did know that I ransacked my apartment and I felt terrible. And he tells me the story that I just told you. And he says, I can't be your friend anymore. I don't ever want to talk to you. And he leaves my apartment. And I sat there on the couch, hungover, sweating profusely, hot, on those fake pleather couches, you know, when it gets real hot and you stick to them, your leg sticks, and you're like, oh, that's gross. And I sat there and I felt all of the shame from all those years of hiding. And as I sat there, I started having flashbacks. What was I hiding from? What was I really seeking? And this tiny voice came to me in the back of my head, and it was my father. My father said, son, someday you're going to have to stand up in front of the mirror and figure out what kind of man you really are. And I was scared, but I got up, I went to the mirror, and I stood there, and I just stared at myself. And in that moment, I decided that I was never going to drink again, that I was going to be the man that I always thought I could be. And so I challenge you to stand in the mirror next time and think about, what are you hiding from? What is it that you could be doing that you're not? Are you going to be a speaker? Are you going to be a dad, an attorney, accountant? What is it? What's inside of you? What is the gift that's burning inside of you that you're hiding from? And I want you to seek that out. I'm proud to say that last Wednesday, 7 years, no booze, not one drop. 7 years of seeking out the best of the best. And I can't say that I don't ever hide, because we're all human, right? We hide. It happens. But I stopped making excuses. I've got to be the father of a 5-year-old energetic boy, and I get to play with him every day, and it's the greatest gift, because I don't know what would have happened. Even better, I get to be the mirror for him. He doesn't have to hide. He doesn't have to go through the things that I went through. He gets to just seek out and be the little boy full of energy. And interesting enough, I found out that apparently women dig the nice guy. Thank you.
All right, so Jeremy, let me take a second here. So you're beautiful to look at. I want you to just take a moment. When you stood up, I looked at you and I was like, yeah, I can see him there. So I want you to just hold that you embody an amazing presence of a man that I'm like, oh, I want to listen to what he's saying. Okay, and it's not just physical. It's that you look great there. So that was nice. And as you got into your presentation, I felt, I love the hide and seek where you started, But then I felt like you kind of started to jump around, where I didn't get the transition between the hide and seek and then the high school. I got that you were trying to kind of, it was like you were working too hard to make the connection between I was hiding and seeking and playing to I got acne and I was hiding. Like it felt like it was working too hard. Like you could have started in high school. And I kind of saw that theme in the group, everyone feeling like they had to go way back into their past.
Well, this is where you and I disagree.
Yeah, and this is where we disagree. But that was a theme I saw. So I didn't necessarily, I liked the kid piece, but could you have started at high school? I thought you had moments where I was like, I wanted you to dig in more. Like when you went into the playing games and womanizing, I was like, oh, well, there's a speech that can change the world. A man who was a womanizer who is now saying that's not the way he wants to live, that can change some serious lives. Because I think a lot of men are conditioned to be assholes and to womanize, but what did you do in order to move past that? Like I sat up there, kind of underlined that, and I like the analogy around you were just playing games. So part of playing games was you played with women, right? Your last line, I don't remember it, but it was great. You said, "Oh yeah, and women like apparently women like the nice guy," which to me that seemed like the presentation. Was about. It is about you finding yourself, and it feels good to be the nice guy. It doesn't feel good to be the asshole, that kind of thing. Now, this is my one big piece of feedback, and I'll say this, is I think you need to get more direct with respects to how is this story important to me? Like what you're saying. And I thought you said a lot of touching things, and you were touching to listen to, but I was sitting there not understanding how your story really related to me. Like, what was your generous offer? Does that make sense? So thinking really about your audience. I'm not just telling a story. I'm telling the story in order to offer something. So what's your offer? So, yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Jeremy, I thought you had great eye contact. You certainly have a confident stage presence. I really enjoyed your stage presence. I think I will agree with what Susan said. You are a very handsome man. And that, believe it or not, is going to be an obstacle because when I look at you, I'm like, women must chase this guy. So, naturally. So I think that's something you may have to overcome. Honestly, and here's what I mean by that. If you had, you said you had acne as a child, maybe that's a photo, honestly. My speaking mentor is one of them is a woman by the name of Deanna Lotson, and she is this gorgeous woman, and she tells about her struggle with eating, and then she shows a photo of what she looked like when she was, eating at McDonald's 3 times a day. So it's sort of sometimes those photos can bring us there. Again, with the acne, if people made fun of you, I'd love to know what they said, and I'd love to even know their names, their first names. What
their addresses.
Yeah, exactly.
You could defriend them on Facebook.
Because that makes it real. Those are characters in your story, and they used to call me the whatever, and I couldn't go anywhere without them calling me, whatever that name is. You got a taste in your speech of inappropriate shout-outs by audience members.
Yes, of course.
When Sean said strip poker, and I think that's I'm actually glad that he did that, because when we ask the audience for stuff, you never know what's going to come back. If we say everybody raise your hand if you've ever been whatever, but what games did you play, that somebody's going to say, or somebody potentially in the future might say, strip poker.
I think that's almost a way that you could have turned that around and said, I was thinking more along the lines of, hide and seek. Like make the asshole like I was being there, like kind of put them gently in their place. Like
right.
I said kid games.
Yes.
And then the audience laughs at how you just brought it back to a mature level.
Yeah.
Actually calm me down.
Yeah.
Well, and it's and I think what it's all about. I think it's all about collecting those, because another audience member is going to say that.
Yeah.
There's somebody else is going to say strip poker. So having it come back, or maybe it's strip poker. Thank you, gentlemen sitting alone, for that. Something like that.
And even though it may be funny to you, you are holding the space of the leader, and you want to put that person gently back in their place and let the audience know that you're the leader.
Yeah, and create a safe space for everyone.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think again yeah, and I'm going to say this for a lot of people because I am a big fan of photos. There may be some opportunities there. Maybe one of you younger. I thought maybe you said you had a topless Playboy bunny on your shoulder.
I saw it yesterday.
So maybe you say I had a topless Playboy bunny on my shoulders. Here's a photo, but it's cut off at your head. And so, all you see is like somebody, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because everyone's going to be like, what? And then, so photos can really be a great joke. And for me, the mirror was the theme. Looking in the mirror, and I felt that was a great callback that could be brought out more, maybe introduced earlier, and, afraid to look in that mirror.
What if I can tie it in with acne?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's
you don't
absolutely,
wanna look in the
absolutely,
mirror.
because it's hiding. You hide and seek. You hid from other people, but then eventually you started to hide from yourself. So for me, that mirror was the theme and the callback. So great job. You don't need that.
Yeah. So, Jeremy, I liked the hide and seek. I liked it from the moment you started to use it in the dress rehearsal. I felt like you could have come back to it about at the end when you and I were talking about how you thought you were seeking something in becoming an asshole, but what you were really doing was hiding. And that wasn't clearly defined in this experience. I felt like that would have made more clear to people that sometimes when you think you're seeking out success or money or beauty, that really you're hiding from who you truly are, which is, whatever that may be, your highest calling or your purpose in life. And I think if you would have tied in that theme a little cleaner, you would have probably caught Susan and Peter more in a place of understanding that theme and enjoying it. So that's number one. Number two, I thought you had great energy. I thought you were very playful. I liked the opening. I felt personally, I feel like the quickest we can get a room to bond over something in their life, like what games did you like to play? It also brings out a global human experience. We all had a childhood. We all played games and we were children. So that really tied us together, and I liked that. As far as I felt like you didn't hit your stride until a few minutes in, though, because in the beginning, and we talked about this as judges on their ends, that I felt like I wasn't fully connected to you until later in the story. I didn't feel like you got totally vulnerable until several minutes in, and I would have liked to have seen that vulnerability come out a little bit more. Even when you were telling about your youth, it felt like more like you were reading from a book about this guy you knew versus I didn't feel like you went back and relived that while you were up here from your youth. I would have liked to have seen that. I do feel like you went back and relived it by the time you got to the pill story. And that was when I was fully hooked. You want to pay attention, and you'll be able to review the video, to your nonverbal. There are a lot of times where you were like making fists and doing weird things with your hands, and they were totally unconscious. And we saw this in some of you, that you would fidget and not know that you were doing it. Also, I feel that you could have pulled, as Susan was saying, you could have pulled the audience in more to their global human experiences. Like how can they see yourself in your story? The example I wrote down was you said you gave very stereotypical gender roles, and one of them you were like, maybe you wanted to be the jock, maybe you wanted to be the pretty face. And I'm thinking about my wife. My wife never wanted to be the jock or the pretty face. She wanted to be the smartest or the best or whatever. I'm like, so she probably wouldn't have related to that,
Yeah,
correct?
I wrote that down.
Yeah, I thought you would. So you want to make sure that the examples you give get the range of audience. So maybe you wanted to be the most successful. Maybe you wanted to be the smartest. Maybe you wanted to be the prettiest. Like, hit the gamut, because then you're going to grab them all.
Health-wealth relationship.
You said zoom across the freeway. I think you meant swerve across the freeway, because you didn't visually. I knew it happened, but the audience doesn't. You actually went across lanes of traffic. Your car lost control because you kicked the wheel. It wasn't just like you were zooming. Zooming means, in my mind, that you're going forward. Did you guys get that? Did you know what he meant by going across the lanes of traffic?
I heard kick the wheel, and I was like,
Yeah.
Okay.
bad news.
I would have liked the word swerve myself. I feel like it would have made it more intense. I thought you had a great spectrum of emotion. You made us laugh. You made us feel emotionally for you. And that close was perfect because you came full circle and you made everybody in the room go, oh yeah, we do like the nice guy. Because you know who likes immaturity is the immature. Mature people appreciate niceness. Like once we get to adulthood, hopefully we're in the place where we want to be treated well. We don't want to be treated like shit. That doesn't make a healthy person feel connected to you. And so you have, I think Susan's right, you have an incredible opportunity with your talks to refocus the male and the female in the room, especially the male. Because I know the reason why I wanted to be your friend growing up is because you were the asshole and you did get the girls. And I was like, cool, I got an asshole mentor. I want what he has.
I love it.
I want what he has. Right? And so now to see it come full circle, I'm like, oh no, I want what he has, the guy at the end of the speech. So great job. And I also feel like, Jeremy, you've come a very long way because I watched you in other speaker things and it was very robotic. You came into a more of a natural flow. So this is a career for you.
I'll start on that, the natural flow. I also felt like the beginning, you weren't in flow yet. And I felt like, I'm not sure, I'd have to watch the tape back, but it was somewhere around the time when you were talking about sobriety and getting our feedback of celebrating that with you. That, like, from that point on, I was like, he's in it, go, like, rock on. It was so good. But before that, it was a little bit iffy. Some of the things that I noted in terms of what was great, you had awesome eye contact, which was really nice, and really some distinct pauses that I'm going to probably say that to everybody because I pay attention to that, and I think it can be so valuable in terms of creating a little bit of dramatic effect. So that was awesome. In terms of what Sean was saying with the stereotypes, to me it was even more so because right before, and I wrote it down, you said, I'm sure you can relate. That's the quote that you said. Right before that, you were talking about being a womanizer. And I'm like, what? I can't relate to that at all. And not only can I not relate, I don't even like you because of that. And then you're like questioning me like I can relate to that. I'm like, So, and that is what I said when we were deliberating with the judges. I said, Jeremy's a friend of ours. Like, I've known you for years. And I'm like, I didn't even like the guy who was starting that speech, which to me says a lot because I already like you and I'm friends with you. So just notice where you can be more embracing and allow the audience also to embrace you sooner, because once we did that with the sobriety thing, you were golden. Sean, I think, mentioned hand clench. Watch your left hand on the video when you watch it back. And the only other thing I'll say is I have an idea for you in terms of where you can start. I thought one of the really powerful points was when you're standing there and you're looking at the pills in your hand. What if you were to just start your speech like that? You come out and
well, he did that in the rehearsal.
X that out.
Well, for the thing.
Speaking is subjective.
Yes, it is.
So is being married. Marriage is subjective. Yes.
I don't know. You're either married or you're not.
I don't think that's so subjective.
Well,
Sean.
here's the thing. I think it could have been done when I saw him doing the rehearsal. I said, I don't feel like the audience cares about you enough to connect to that story, so I made him bring it to the end. But, again, sometimes you don't know. This is a good example. Even when your coach tells you to make a change, here's when you know what you need to do. Not what a coach says, not what I say, not what Jonathan said. It's what does the audience react to. Because I can tell you, no, don't do that, but if the audience agrees that would have been stronger, then you need to go with that.
Well, let me just play off of that, because honestly, it doesn't matter. You can start wherever you want to start, but there are a couple things that you want to think about when you do that. Being in scene is really, really powerful. So whether it's the story of looking at your hand with the pills in it or some other story, it doesn't matter. But being in scene is great. So start in scene. That's huge. You guys know Sean's I was 12 years old and I was watching the TV. You're with him in his living room as this little boy watching the TV. So start in the scene. The other thing, Jeremy, on kind of on that topic is, and I'm always pulling my stuff from writing. That's my background. So one of the key things they tell us all the time as writers is show, don't tell. And I wrote that down for you where you said, she broke my heart. She crushed me. Show me that. Give me a little bit of the story or an experience or a scene of that happening instead of just telling me, oh, she broke my heart. Because I'm like, I don't care. Like, everybody's hearts get broken, so what? But if you can actually bring me with you along that experience, that's going to be way more powerful. And I think then also tie back into the, the girl digs the good guy. That can all relate and really tie up nicely in a really sweet speech. Thank you. Yeah. Great job.
Just one other quick thing I had, and this is really for anybody. You use the word asshole, which is totally cool, but again, there will be some audiences that will be like, absolutely no swear words, so thinking about, does that change your speech? Does it dilute your speech if you suddenly have to refer to them as jerks or something?
Sure.
So that's all, and that's just a general...
Well, you've lost gigs almost over the swear.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I was rescued by someone.
Yes, you were rescued.
Yes. So that's just a general rule for anyone.
Was there any feedback about the gay comments? Any of that?
Well,
Did that land on anybody in the audience? Or
Yes.
I told him that was going to be a very fragile thing because you don't want to make it sound like being gay is bad.
Yeah, like they all
Right.
cheered me. That just is a piece of feedback. I got what you were saying, but I was like, if I was a lesbian, would I sit in the room and be like, oh well, it may disconnect with some of your audience. That's all.
Maybe if you hadn't said they cheered.
You told me to add that.
No, I said you need to make sure that you soften the gay comment.
You can say, and the reality is my family cheered because they didn't know who I was. I finally made a decision. They could have, I don't know. And not that being gay even makes a difference, but the reality is
Right.
I was hiding from my parents.
If you have a disclaimer in there.
There's a disclaimer. I was hiding, something like that.
I'm glad that you said the gay part because I think most people
I
see
thought
you.
that was powerful
Yeah.
when you said it.
Because it's a vulnerable statement.
Yeah, like my parents thought I was gay. I was hiding from myself and everybody else that they.
So the gay is not the problem.
No.
It's just making sure that there's a disclaimer.
Maybe you should add something like, my parents didn't know if I was gay or if I was straight or if I
Right.
was, asexual.
Yep.
I was hiding so much. My parents were questioning my sexuality. And then so maybe that's kind of the point you're trying to make.
Yeah. How about your coach? Let's get the mic to Jonathan.
I was like, oh, she's your coach? I was like,
No. That wouldn't work.
Well, I love first of all, it was the best performance I've seen you do on this talk. I agree with the comments up here, and I guess I'm a fan of being in scene or starting in scene and the showing don't tell. So we've talked about that a little bit about just reveal more, be more vulnerable, go through that breakup and get us in the scene.
Yeah, the pills in the beginning was your idea, right? Or was that Jeremy's?
Mine.
Yeah, you had it. We just kind of worked on it a
He
bit.
said that stuff, and I'm like, well, the most powerful scene that I could get emotionally
Yeah.
attached to is
Yeah.
the pills.
Yeah, I'm like,
That's
let's
the only
start
part
in
of that
scene, and what's a
story.
big, powerful scene?
Because that's the only part of the story that I remember. I don't know that I kicked the wheel.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
just was
Yeah.
so
You could
back
go
to
back
me. Like,
to
I
that
distinctly
after.
remember holding the blue pills in
Yeah.
my hand, looking at him going, holy fuck.
I think that you should add, sorry,
Oh, go ahead.
that you should
Grab
add
the
that
mic.
when,
Grab the
when,
mic.
when Reese says, do you even know what happened last night? You can go into, I almost ended my life. You went into you wrecked the apartment, but, I'm sorry?
He ransacked the apartment.
Ransacked the apartment, but that was so powerful, the pills and how you were going to take your life. It makes me sad to think about it. I had to look away because I didn't want you to see me crying. But that was so powerful. You could go back to that and say, all I remember is that I wanted to take my life. That is so powerful that it keeps you kind of in the whole pill thing. So, sorry.
Well, yeah, I just think maybe take out some stuff, but go deeper and add that. Add more depth and take out more clutter, I guess, is what I would say. Show us those scenes, live those scenes, have more of a focus. I do love the mirror. I do love the hiding and seeking, but otherwise.
Any other
Energy?
comments from?
I have one.
Yeah, pass it.
For the near crash, I don't know. I thought if I wanted to hear that the car like swerved across the divider, nearly hit another car, spun 3 times and landed on the side, but nothing happened. I wanted to almost see you like do a drunk kick. Like if there was a chair, I'd want to see you like slouching over and then literally lift your leg up and kick the wheel. I wanted to I feel like because it was such a huge point in your story.
That would be really powerful to have a chair on stage or something and
you just slouch and then kick your leg and kick that imaginary wheel, because then it'll bring everybody to that special, important moment.
Yeah.
What's cool is that we were all hit, and there's so much. You have so much material with all of that because it hit us all in different ways. So it's really cool.
Anybody else have anything they want to share?
Thank you.
All right, awesome.